So we just launched Prep Insta Prime subscription, which is like 150 plus courses under one subscription. So it has courses like C, C++, Java, Python, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cybersecurity, data structures, competitive coding, even company specific courses like TCS, NQT, Infosys, TCS Digital, Amazon, etc. The link is in the description of the video. Go check that out. I'm sure that you'll love that. Hello everyone, welcome. We are going to be discussing about the Cognizant GenC Elevate, GenC Pro and GenC Next also. I assume that a lot of you would know about it already, and then the Cognizant would have also taken a pre-presentation talk in your college, but there are a lot of things that they missed out on purpose, which I'm going to be discussing in this video because there were some things that they discussed the last time but not this time. So this video is going to be very, very useful for you, even if you know everything about Cognizant. First of all, a lot of companies are hiring Microsoft, Google right now. On our social media handles, we posted links, so make sure that you follow all of them. As always, the top 3 comments get Prep Insta Prime subscription absolutely free. So let's go ahead. So to be honest, you may know about just 2 roles. It could be a possibility that Cognizant has 2 roles, which is GenC and GenC Elevate. Now, for this GenC Elevate role, CSE, IT, and EEE, EC branches, etc., are eligible, but others are not eligible. However, for this GenC, so just simple GenC role, right? So in that case, all the other branches are eligible. But ideally, this particular role, that is just the GenC role, is something that I will not suggest you. The reason being, 90% of the people who will get selected for GenC role will go to testing profile, which is not ideal. Right, so CSE IT people, don't choose GenC. Please make sure that you choose GenC Elevate. Now, in that case, also they've mentioned a skill bonus, but they've not mentioned the skill bonus in terms of how much is going to be. So the last time it was 25,000, but this time they've done that. They've not mentioned the skill bonus because either you will get 25,000 as a skill bonus, some people, but some people based upon test performance, internship performance, and the training performance, they will migrate to the GenC Pro and the GenC Next role also. So here the package is 5.4 LPA and the package is 6.75 LPA. So basically, based upon your online test performance, interview performance, then you'll be doing an internship, and you will also be doing a training with Cognizant. So for all the people who have gotten selected for GenC role, there will be 3 outcomes. Either you'll stay in GenC Elevate and will get 25,000 as a bonus, that's it. Or I assume for 50% of the people, they will move them to the GenC Pro role, and 10% of people will go to this role. So my assumption is 40% will stay in this, 50% will move to this, and 10% will move to this. So this is also what we saw the last time as well, right? So that's particularly about it. Now, there's also one more program called as Cognizant Orbit Shifter, which will happen once you completed 1 year in Cognizant. They will take an internal exam, and in that internal exam, you will be having again competitive coding, data structures, whatever I'm going to discuss for GenC Elevate thing. That again, the same test will happen for you. Cognizant said that they are hoping that for the people who are stuck here in the simple GenC role, right? They will utilize the 1 year in the company to upskill themselves, to learn new skills, and be a better programmer, be a better competitive coder, be better at data structures, pick up some skills like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and then they will be allowing you to give an interview after if you complete the online test again, and then you can move to these higher packages also. This is also what TCS does. So, TCS Digital and Innovator is very similar to Cognizant GenC Pro and GenC Next. One more thing is, in the interview also, they will be focusing upon these things. So for the GenC Elevate, so for example, how do you maximize your chances to get this role, and this role? Cognizant clearly has mentioned that, okay, all of these people that they will be hiring would be working upon these certain things. So for example, these guys, even though they mention application analyst, infrastructure analyst, quality engineer, to be honest, only this will be given. That's it. So testing, right? Here, all of these skills are basically, if you have all of these skills, then it's fine. And if you have all of these skills, then it's good for you. And if you have all of these skills, so then it's good. So in the interview, you have to demonstrate that you have certification in artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, full stack, advanced .NET, Python, data scientist, cybersecurity, AWS, infra developer. So how you can maximize your chances for that is, if you are already having Prepinsta Prime subscription, so make sure that you pick up any certification skill from here: artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, ethical hacking, cloud computing, big data, NLP, deep learning. So these are very hot skills. And then again, you have to make sure that you have to show them projects. If you don't show them projects, if you don't have certifications and skills in this advanced technology, then basically they'll be interviewing you and they'll just be giving you a GenC role. We'll talk more about it a little later. Right. Now here, basically what would happen is, I'll talk a little more into detail about it, but for the GenC role, these are the packages that you can see here, different packages for GenC Next, GenC Pro, GenC Elevate. Here in the GenC, they've mentioned that, okay, minimal programming skills should be there because you'll be working in testing, right? So there would be an aptitude test and then a communication test. For this particular GenC Elevate role, the skill-based assessment and the communication test, right? And the skill-based assessment, again, basically, they are saying we'll hire for GenC Elevate, but they'll give GenC Pro and GenC Next also, right? Now, here the subject matter interview would be there, that is SME interview would be there. We'll talk more about it, but still you would be asked some coding questions, which is Prepinsta top 100 type of coding questions, basic C, C++. You will not be asked data structures here. But here you will be asked DSA, competitive coding, and DBMS, and also skills. Very, very important. So your online test for the GenC aptitude would be happening on Metal and AMCAT, right? So I'm sorry. So basically here Metal and AMCAT, why? 95% of the colleges they will be doing in Metal. But for 5% of the colleges, we've already spoken with them. They are saying that, okay, we also want to try AMCAT and maybe we'll shift to AMCAT completely next year, but we want some proof of concept. So in like 10-15 colleges, they are also going to be doing via AMCAT. But to be honest, forget AMCAT. I'm just saying it can be there, but Metal is going to be there for everybody almost practically, right? The communication assessment will only be there on Metal. So ignore my slide. By mistake, I've written AMCAT. And the skill-based platform will also be on Metal. So basically, if you are a Prepinsta Prime subscriber, to practice previous year questions of all of these, what you can do is you can go to the Metal course here. Now, to talk a little more about the hiring pattern, how it's going to be, I'm sure that you would have received this particular PDF from Cognizant also. If not, then please ask your college to do so. So first of all, you'll be registering. There would be resume shortlisting, etc., etc. Here. Now, firstly, round one would be technical assessment for GenC, basically Elevate, and just aptitude for just simple GenC, right? And this is not an elimination round. Right now, all of them, everybody, 100% of the people will go to the next thing, that will be a communication test. So the communication test is going to be on Metal, which will be, okay, you have to use your headphones and somebody would be speaking in English, that is US and European English, and then it will be a reading comprehension type of question. Now, or they'll be giving you a few sentences and you have to use your mic to basically speak those sentences again, and the AI would judge that, okay, how your communication is. The third one would be, they'll speak some sentences and will say blank, and then you have to basically fill in the blank type of questions. But rather than reading a fill in the type of grammar question, fill in the blank type of grammar question, you have to listen to it and then tell and then mark option A, B, C, D. Right? So that will be happening on Metal. We'll create a separate video onto it, so don't worry about it. And so basically what would happen is, based upon your collective performance here and here, together your final scores will be calculated, and based upon that, shortlisting will happen here. Alright, now what would happen is, for the people who clear it, there would be GenC Elevate interview for these people only, and obviously for the aptitude test and communication test for your student, there would be GenC SME interview. If you are basically clearing GenC SME interview, in that case, what would happen? You will get GenC offer. However, if you are clearing the GenC Elevate technical interview, in that case, initially you will get GenC Elevate offer, right? Which is 4 lakh plus skill bonus. But based upon, as I discussed earlier, based on your performance in online tests, internship performance, training performance, we'll be giving out GenC Next offer letter or GenC Pro offer letter also later. So it will be happening 6-7 months later. But your scores would be whatever scores. So for example, whatever scores that you have here, whatever scores you have here in the interview. Apart from that, internship and training, all of these scores will be cumulatively calculated to give you a higher 5.4 LPA role or a 6.75 LPA role. Right, now to move about the test pattern very, very quickly, I wouldn't want to waste so much time upon it, is for simple, the Gen C role, there would be an aptitude test, which would be basically the 25. Basically, you can take a screenshot of this. The test for 99% of the people will be on metal. For 10-15 qualities wherein they are doing testing, it will be on AMCAT. But for 99% of college, it will be metal. Guarantee. This is something that I've verified and spoken with one of the leads of HR in Cognizant, right? So this is going to be that. Apart from that, in the interview, what are they going to ask you is, first of all, C++, and coding questions, and projects, and resume. Or if you are basically knowing Java or Python, and it's mentioned in your resume, so they may also ask it, but they're fine, okay, if you don't know Java and Python also, right? So basically just these things. Now for the coding part, so minimal coding skills. Obviously they're not asking data structure, they're not asking DBMS, they're not asking stuff like this. For this coding part particularly, what I will suggest for the interview is there's a particular section called as top 100 section of Prep Insta. Make sure that you go and practice all of these questions from here. This is basically service-based company level of difficulty. The difficulty slowly increases as you go down. There are awesome pages here. For example, if I open any particular page on C, so you'll see Fibonacci series and then, multiple methods. So method 1, method 2, method 3, method 4. So 4 different methods of solving Fibonacci series, right? You can run the code here itself on the compiler. Everything works just fine. Now, you can take a screenshot of it. I wouldn't want to really go into it. Ideally, what you have to do to prepare for this particular thing is, first of all, you have to complete the basic aptitude courses that are there on Prepinsta, Quants, Logical, Verbal. So these are foundational courses. Then what you have to do is you have to come to platforms, practice previous year metal questions. Then what you can also do apart from this is go to companies, and here in the companies section, you will have just give me 1 second. In the company section, you will have Cognizant GenC also somewhere. So if I scroll particularly, Cognizant GenC. So you can practice previous year questions. So these are basically metal questions only that you are basically seeing here, but metal questions that we only saw in Cognizant. So just in case. So to be honest, even if you just complete metal course, that's fine, right? Because the platform is metal, they'll use the same question for Cognizant, they'll use the same question for Tech Mahindra because their database is same. Now, you can take a screenshot of it. Now to move up about the exam pattern for the Cognizant GenC Elevate, right? So what would be happening is, in their online test, they just have mentioned 2 things, right? That, okay, conceptual and code analysis MCQ round, and coding test hands-on, and that's it. They've not mentioned anything apart from that. There's a little syllabus that I'll discuss in the next slide. But we've broken it down for you is basically it'll be broken down into 4 sections on metal. First one would be basics of programming MCQ, 8-minute 4 questions. Then data structure, 6-minute 3 questions. Then advanced competitive programming, 6 minutes 3 questions. So advanced competitive programming, they'll give a theoretical question about knapsack. That okay, some case study. What kind of problem is it? Is it graph problem? Is it knapsack problem? Is it Dijkstra problem? Or is it DFS, etc.? So competitive programming there, right? They'll give a dynamic programming problem statement, and they'll say that, okay, what's the time complexity best case? You don't have to solve the question, but you have to tell, okay, the time complexity is going to be this. Then DBMS also, even though they've not mentioned in their syllabus, which I'm going to cover in the next slide, DBMS question is going to be there. 5 question, 10 minutes. And still you have to study DBMS and SQL because SQL coding question will come here. I'll also show you the kind of coding questions that we have. Now, firstly, total, basically you can see this total thing is okay, so I mentioned it incorrectly by mistake. I copy pasted from this. So this is total 90 minutes. You can, forget about it. So this particular section is 10, 16, 16. So basically this is 30 minutes and then so many questions. So this whole section is 30 minutes. You can also call this section as programming construct, these two parts, and then these two parts they are calling as data structures and utility API. We'll see utility API a little later. Now, in terms of intermediate coding, one question, two questions would be there. That would be fairly easy. So for that, what we recommend you is Prep Top 100 again, complete Prep Top 100. So these first two coding questions would be of similar level of difficulty. Or if you have Prep Prime subscription, in that case, basic coding and intermediate coding courses, you have to complete both of those. You can see the trailer of all of these from these demo video section here for each of the course that is there, right? Now, for advanced coding section, the question would be based upon either data structures or comparative programming, but it will not be a big question because the time is less. It will be, let's say, a comparative programming question based upon greedy or dynamic programming, but it will be a small question that can be solved within 15-20 minutes. But you will be using data structures, you will be using binary search, uh, uh, insertion sort, bubble sort, etc., two-pointer approach, dynamic programming, greedy, n queens problem, so on. But it will be a question that will take less time. We'll make a separate video about that on our YouTube, so you can check that out a little later. For SQL question, I'll just show you. So, for example, you can take a screenshot of this. This was one of the SQL questions that we saw last year. So, they'll give a problem statement or a case study like this. Then they'll give you a sample database like this. And then they'll also give you a sample output like this, and then they'll give you a space to write an SQL query. All right, so you can take a screenshot of this. They are also saying that, okay, this is the output format, these are the names of table columns, write an SQL query, and that's it. Now, to talk about the whole syllabus of it, there are a few things that they've not mentioned in there. So obviously they have given, you can see these two, this thing, they have given it to you, right? But apart from that, this and this thing that we've additionally added, and here also there are some topics of Java that are missing, that they've not mentioned. But one or two questions would be also based upon Java in programming constructs or in data structures, wherever. Right? It could be a possibility that, okay, C, C++, and Java question is basically not regarding Java language, it's just that pseudocode is there in Java. So ideally, I would be suggesting you, if you should know Java as well, a little bit of it. Okay, so you can take a screenshot of all of this. So this would be programming construct, which would be asked in what all sections. It would be basically is important for these three parts, right? And the DBMS part is basically for the coding part also, and then the 3, 4, 5 coding questions, 5 MCQ questions that are also going to be the online test. For the coding part, we suggest Prep Top 100, as I said, data structures of Prep. So let's say if you go to Prep, there's a data structure section that I want you to very quickly we'll see. So for example, programming, data structures, we'll go here, and then there's basic coding, intermediate coding, and previous papers. For example, data structures, if you go to insertion sort. So from here, you can practice all of these data structures as well. So example, how do we different ways of solving it, memes, advantages, disadvantages, time complexity. So they'll give an MC question. What all algorithms are in place algorithms, and then they'll give an insertion sort, bubble sort, binary sort, sorry, not binary sort, merge sort, etc., and then the correct answer in that case would be, let's say, insertion sort. So these facts are very important for you to understand. And for example, what you can do is you can search Cognizant GenC Elevate coding questions, and then obviously Prep page would come on top, and then you can check all the previous year questions that Cognizant has asked on this particular page. We'll make this page a little better also when we get more questions, so automatically these more questions would be added here. Right, now in the communication test, both of the GenC and GenC Elevate would be given 45 minutes reading grammar. So as I said, so they will be basically, there would be a play button on, let's say, question 1, and it says Atulya was dash, Atulya has been dash cricket in the evening, and then this is something that you have to plug in your headphones, and it will be said to you in a very European or a US language, because Cognizant, basically you'll be speaking to a lot of clients from from US and Americas on Skype, etc. So they want you to see that, okay, is your hearing capability for accent is good or not, and then there would be ABCD option that has been playing, is played, was played, or wrong options also, and then you have to select. Comprehension and listening skills, what would happen is, So let's say reading comprehension, but not whole reading comprehension. Let's say one paragraph of reading comprehension. They'll say that okay, climate change has been affecting global warming, etc., etc., etc. They keep on talking for the next 2 minutes, and then once you've heard that, that's it. You can't hear that again. And then there would be 3, 4 questions that okay, what are the primary causes of climate change? And then they'll give you 4 options. Obviously, in that case, it'll not be that easy that I said. It'll be about not some specific problem. It will be about specific thing that you've not read earlier, about an article, about a case study. But yeah, speaking is going ahead for the same thing. They'll give you a sentence and you have to speak that sentence, and the AI will read your pronunciation, your communication, your pauses, etc. We'll make a separate video about this particular thing, right? So that's pretty much about how Cognizant syllabus would be happening. Just to tell you more about it on terms of how do you prepare for this whole thing. Right. So first, I'm going to talk about GenC Elevate. I hope that most of you would be having Prefinsta Prime subscription. I guess 50% of the people preparing for placements have the subscription already. So basically, even if you don't have Prefinsta Prime subscription and you purchase some other course, so your preparation format would be the same that I'm going to tell you now, but you can use a different website course also, right? So for GenC, just GenC, ideally what you should be doing for the for the online test preparation, quants, logical, verbal, you should be preparing, and then you should also be preparing metal aptitude questions only from here, right? Or for the people who don't have it, you can Google metal aptitude questions. Maybe some, at least Referenster has some questions which are actual, right? I wouldn't be saying that all the other websites have actual questions or not, because I am not really sure. So that's one thing. Apart from that, you go ahead and complete C and C++ courses for the interview, then basic coding and intermediate courses for the interview, and probably if you have some skill like artificial intelligence, machine learning, that's okay. But let's say if you have mentioned some project in your resume, make sure that there's a link that people can click. So I'll very quickly be showing you one particular thing. So for example, how can you do that? Here is, so good. So for example, as you can see, this particular resume here has links, as you can see. Just give me 1 second. So as you can see here, this particular resume has links of basically bit.ly links of, if people can click upon this link and then they can see the project as well. So that's very, very important. Now for the GenC Elevate part, I would be suggesting that okay, there is no aptitude, so you can skip the aptitude part. But in that case, what you have to learn is C, C++, Java, these 3 things. Then basic coding, intermediate coding, competitive coding, and data structures in your preferred language. You can also go ahead with DSA for service-based companies as well. This is a shortened course because our data structures course is humongous. It's very big. It's even there for, it's the level of difficulty at the very end even goes beyond FANG companies also, right? So that you can use the tracks also if you like. And then primarily after that, go to metal, practice all the technical and previous year questions of aptitude, so on. You also need to study DBMS. If you're a CSIT student, then operating system also. There's a specific course for SQL also. But apart from that, pseudocode course also complete, because in the first part of the online test, there would be pseudocode based upon C and C++ that would be asked. So very, very important. And make sure that you have at least one of these skills that we've mentioned here. So cloud computing, big data, neural network, cybersecurity, AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. We are also launching web development this next month, and we are also launching business intelligence next month. We are also launching data science next month. But Cognizant will come to your campus till the time. So probably if you have some other course from elsewhere, that would be fine, right? So that's pretty much about it. You can also go to our Cognizant previous year paper. So for example, go to prepare, go to all platforms, and then Cognizant, this is GenC and GenC Elevate. So these 2 dashboards would be basically relevant for you. So, and then you can practice all the previous year coding questions. So let's say LCM, HCF, you want to prepare, go to here, go to start, and then click upon here. You'll get to know the stats of people. You'll also get to know your performance. And then same thing for GenC Elevate, right? GenC Elevate, you can basically OOPS concept, control structure, data structures, pointers, streams, utility, API, etc. So that's pretty much about it. I'll see you up ahead in the next video. Make sure that you do check out Prefinsta Prime. All the relevant links are in the description of the video. So thank you.